From the thousands and thousands of podcasts out there, there are only a few that are as near and dear to my boners as the Please Stop Talking podcast. The Please Stop Talking podcast is a podcast that is split up into seasons, currently being on season number 4, with a total of 7 different hosts. They are Shammy or Avery, a YouTuber who reviews games and makes videos once a millennia, but for good reason. Punk Duck or Ed, a Smite YouTuber who hasn't uploaded a video in the fattest minute. Brendaniel or Brendan, a YouTuber with a big funny voice who makes the big funny videos, like the entire B-movie script. Mandalore Gaming or Mandy, another video game reviewer who doesn't upload once a millennia, unlike Avery. Super Sneak Sheep or Cameron, the Kiwi of the group. Sir Meow Music or David, Avery's audio engineer who also does the editing for the podcast and runs a gaming channel called A Pain Hole with Brendan. And Sir Zulu or Kyle, an old friend of Avery's. The first episode of the podcast, titled Please Stop Talking episode number 0, was released on June 19th, 2017, and at the time of writing the script, they're on episode 41 of the podcast. On the podcast, we'll talk about anything from the Game Awards to the hypothetical World War IV, and if that doesn't interest you, I don't know what does. With all this being said, I quite enjoy listening to the Please Stop Talking podcast, so let me tell you why. There's this running gag on the podcast where Avery will always mess up his introduction on the podcast, which is, I'm your host Avery, but you might know me better as Shammy. However, the issue is that he'll usually say, I'm your host Shammy, but you might know me better as Avery. This has happened so many times that it's just become a meme on the channel. It's iconic, how can you not love it? While it may not really be a part of the podcast itself, the ad reads are one of the best parts of the show. A PST podcast ad read is not your usual ad read. No, my friend. It's a whole genre of ad read in and of itself. My personal favorite one either being the one in episode 34, Let's Get Sad, or in episode 35, Test Tube David. It's honestly a tie between those two. It almost feels as if some of the ad reads have some lore behind them, like the story of Avery and Cameron running away from the ads. It's just a very interesting take on something so simple as an ad read. To keep things fresh on the podcast, every episode will have 4 different members from a rotating group of the 7 podcast members. This makes sense because having 7 people on a podcast at once would just be absolute chaos. Plus, it makes every episode different since each host has their own personalities, stories, etc. Hypothetically, if all of them were on every podcast episode, first and foremost, it'd be chaotic, and secondly, it would get repetitive. There's been many iconic stories told on the podcast, too many to name as a matter of fact. However, my personal favorite ones are the ones in episode 6 of the podcast titled Punk Duck's Views Do Not Reflect Those of the PST Podcast, Feat Punk Duck, where Ed talks about his circumcision that he got at the age of 16 and how he attempted to stop his friend from shagging a fat girl by pulling the fire alarm of the building they were in. These 2 tales from Ed are easily my favorites that I've heard on the podcast, even though it's a common theme for Ed to have the wildest and wackiest stories to tell. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can feel free to drop a like, drop me a sub, share this video with your family and friends, follow me on Twitter, ShampyYT, join my Discord server down below, and finally, be sure to follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/ShampyLive. But besides that, I'll see you all next one. Take care, and goodbye.